Hey everyone, this is Darrell Evans of the 1984 World Champion Detroit Tiger. My favorite show to be on is the Sports Circus with Big Sal.
Stretch! You can put it on the board! Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you test their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic and massive cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. We're applicable, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW, Charter, and independent cable television affiliates. We're applicable, as well as Hotel TV, same. And by the way, thanks for everybody joining us on all of those social media platforms and Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube, Stitcher, Deezer, etc., and so forth, and Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, now that we got that out of the way, thinking about the Major League Baseball trade deadline, and we're going to get into that because there are some moves that I guess they're kind of head scratchers. And then there are other moves you just like, well, all right, I sort of expected that. But in the latest news in Major League Baseball, yes, trades we're going to get into in just a moment. How about the Jays? The Blue Jays just really laying it on the Detroit Tigers. And let's face it, the Toronto Blue Jays now are the best team in the American League. First top of the show, it's Darrell Evans, our baseball analyst, giving the announcement. My favorite show is The Sports Circus with, of course, me. But Darrell's team right now has hit the skids, and he was an 84 World Series champion with the Detroit Tigers over the San Diego Padres. And you ask about the Padres, you say, wait a minute, how about their pitching? Now, these guys have some real questions to answer. Think about this. Yu Darvish, he just continues to struggle. And let's face it, he is not the Yu Darvish from past. And remember, this is the same Yu Darvish that really didn't do anything in the postseason. As I saw it, in my opinion, all he did was choke in the postseason. And that's why he was relegated to another team. But the bigger question is, are those flame-throwing receivers, or relievers, I should say, going to really define the trade deadline? And look, there are different opinions about these alleged flame-throwing receivers. Let's think about this, folks. If somebody comes into Major League Baseball as a reliever, chances are they're going to have one, maybe two pitches. They might throw 99, 100 miles an hour, 102 miles an hour, whatever it is. The reality is this. If their ball doesn't move, and if it's just a flat, and I mean flat means it's straight. If it's a flat fastball, the hitters only have to dial it up and hit the ball. If the ball's moving, that's a whole different animal. I would rather have a guy that throws 92, 93 maybe, and he has all kinds of movement, all kinds of speed changes. He has all kinds of stuff versus somebody who just throws laser beams up there. And let's face it, the harder you throw, the further that ball goes when they make contact. So I would much rather have a complete pitcher than somebody who just comes in with one pitch and faces maybe the minimum, which now I guess is three guys. So you ask yourself, where's the real value in these flamethrowers? Really, think about that for a minute. Because the guys that they're facing are professional hitters. That's what they do. And even the worst hitter on a baseball team in Major League Baseball, let's face it, they're basically the best in that position, whatever position they play. They're one of the top 30 guys in the world that play that particular position. So they may stink on paper, but they know how to hit because they wouldn't be playing big league baseball if they couldn't hit in the first place. So those flamethrowers, let's face it, most of them are just throwing a regular flat fastball, a four-seam fastball. That's it. A two-seam fastball is a little different because there's a little bit of movement in it. It just depends on how the pitcher releases the ball. Take it from a former pitcher. And I only threw two-seam fastballs. I did not throw a four-seam fastball on purpose because I didn't want somebody to dial it up against me and hitting the ball a country mile. So I refused to throw a four-seam fastball. I wanted every pitch that I make to have movement. Everything. And that's what it was. Everything moved, which makes it a hell of a lot harder for the hitter because they're looking maybe low and in or up and away or something like that, or even low and outside. And if you give them a flat fastball, I don't care, at a $102, guess what? That ball is going to be hit a very, very long ways. And so people say, well, geez, a lot of home runs are hit in big distances. Never mind that whole exit velo crap. But then again, you take that into account when these guys are throwing 100 miles an hour. Well, let's face it, as fast as it comes in is as fast or faster as it goes out. That's why you see these exit velocities from like O'Neill Cruz. I remember I saw him hit a home run. This was, probably about 6-8 weeks ago. And it was, I guess, a record for this alleged exit velocity nonsense. But it was the hardest ball I think I've ever seen hit. And that even includes one by Jose Canseco that he hit off the label, and it still went into the third deck in Toronto. But Jose Canseco had the fastest bat speed through the strike zone that I've ever seen, and I think at one point it was the fastest in the history of Major League Baseball, that since it was being recorded. Now, O'Neill Cruz did something that nobody else has done, which hit a ball 120 miles an hour exit velocity. I mean, that was nuts, and I just don't ever see a ball. I don't remember seeing a ball leave the yard so quickly. It was insane. And so, again, who is he facing? A flamethrower, one of these alleged flame-throwing relievers that allegedly could define the trade deadline according to MLB.com. I don't necessarily believe that they are what they're built up to be. It's just a lot of hype, a lot of nonsense. And let's face it, they're not in the game long enough to face adversity. And once somebody gets on base against them, now you can make the same argument for Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw is not the same pitcher as soon as somebody gets on base when he's forced to pitch out of the stretch. But reality is, so a lot of these guys, when there's somebody on base, it changes the dynamic of the game very, very quickly. And so if you've got a pitcher, even though he's pitching out of the stretch, he doesn't have to look to first base with nobody on, nobody out, and a no count at the home plate. So the first pitch of the inning. But once somebody gets on base, I'm not going to say all bets are off. But what I am going to say is that the madness and the mayhem starts right there. Because now you've got a distraction. And first of all, those pitchers that are pitching out of the stretch are already losing 2 to 3 miles an hour of their velocity because they're not using their body in the way they would with a windup. For all you that don't know about pitching at that level, this is really good information. So you take a guy like Clayton Kershaw, when he pitches out of the windup, he's far more effective. But he, just like all these other pitchers, go back to guys like, Roger Clemens or Randy Johnson, whatever. These guys would actually lose velocity when they pitch out of the stretch. And that's a known fact. You don't believe me? Go ahead and look it up. I can tell you that as a former player and also from everything that I've read as well, all the stats and whatnot. It's out there. So the reality is these flame-throwing relievers are sort of behind the eight ball when they come into a game and there's a situational baseball game being played. Maybe there's a guy in first, maybe ducks on the pond, second and third with one out or something to that effect. There's a lot going on here, but the reality is the flame-throwing relievers don't hold runners on very well, and they get stolen on a regular basis, especially with these new rules about multiple moves over to the bag where the runner is. And there is a small problem there too, because Once you take your second move over there and you're unsuccessful, you can bet your bottom dollar that runner is going to go. Because if they throw over there and they don't pick him off, he takes the next base anyway, in case you don't know. So the bigger question is, how many of these flame-throwing relievers that MLB.com mentions, how many can actually hold a runner on? That's the bigger question. Because it's a lot of times when you get into the bullpen, the runners advance off of them rather easily because they don't really pitch a whole hell of a lot. Think about it. I mean, these guys are pitching, I don't know, maybe a couple of times a week. And if they pitch a couple of times a week, well, let's face it, they don't get the reps that a starting pitcher does or even a middle reliever does. They don't really face adversity for the most part. They're coming in, they get all the hype and all the crap. Think about Diaz when he comes in Flushing, New York, and the lights go out, the lights flicker, and all kinds of crap, the music's going, whatever. And the guy is just above average. There's a heavy dose of reality there. It's just a bunch of hype to try to psych out the other team. Oh, this guy is going to come in and he's going to put us out of business, whatever. Our team is hitting against this guy. That's not really how it works, folks. And so all that hype and nonsense is really for the fans, and it's for television because it sure as hell doesn't affect the opposing team. Back here in a few minutes, talking baseball here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Excellent.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Excellent.
If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards for home renovations or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, this segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Folks, check them out. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends waking up with us over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. Everybody driving home with us over in Auburn, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia. Thanks for joining us on WAUD. That's home of the Atlanta Braves. Welcoming everybody else up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, driving between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Listening in on Highway Country Radio 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. Also, welcoming everybody up the West Coast, all the way to Anchorage, down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, welcoming everybody else listening in on Pick Your Favorite Radio and Television affiliate that I did not call out, as well as those on Chicago Food Favorites. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Lots of fun. Your favorite restaurants, talk about them. Maybe your favorite foods, your favorite recipes. Have some fun, make some friends. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Now, taking a quick look at Major League Baseball standings, and we have to do this because we have a trade deadline that's coming up. And right now, over in the, clear your throat, folks, over in the American League East here, you'd think it would be the New York Yankees or something to the effect. Well, guess what? It is the Toronto Blue Jays, and man, they are just doing it. It doesn't matter who they play. It seems like they're just really gelling. I mean, these guys are playing really well right now. And I have to tell you, they're not playing very well on the road, but man, they own it at home. They are 37-17 at home. Geez, on the way, they're up 1 under 500. And the differential is 39, so they've actually scored 39 more runs than their opponents. But they lead the American League East by a lofty 4.5 games over the New York Yankees. Now, that's pretty interesting when you think about it. The Red Sox are only 2 games behind the Yankees. And the Tampa Bay Rays, they haven't been playing very well lately. And the Tampa Bay Rays ran into, believe it or not, the Chicago White Sox. And the White Sox have just been kicking ass and taking names. They've been playing very well. And here you have the Baltimore Orioles with all that talent in last place. I mean, they are certainly, in my opinion, going to be sellers for some of their talent. And speaking of a big question mark, how about in the AL Central when it is the Detroit Tigers somehow still in front of everybody else in the AL Central, and they've lost 9 of their last 10. I think they're on a 9-game losing streak, and they're still 8 games up because Cleveland, who is 8 games up, is only playing .500 ball. And the Royals, with all that talent, I think they're going to certainly be buyers at the deadline. The Royals are 3 games under .500, severely underachieving with the best player in baseball and Bobby Witt Jr. on that club and a whole bunch of really good pieces. Now, the Minnesota Twins are only a half a game behind the Kansas City Royals. Now, the Twins, as I understand it, are going to be sellers. So if the Twins are sellers, only a half game behind the Royals, do you think the Royals are sellers too at the deadline? I don't know. How about the American League West? So it is the Houston Astros. They're playing .500 ball in their last 10, but they're 17 over. Now 5 games over the Seattle Mariners. And believe me, the Seattle Mariners are going to be very busy before the trade deadline. And 2 games behind them are the Texas Rangers. So I believe the Rangers will be buying as well. And they're starting to play pretty good ball lately. And we don't really know what to make of the Angels. I think they're going to be sellers in the grand scheme of things. They're 5 games under .500, 11 back in the division. There's just not enough. And, of course, the A's are rebuilding anyway. Now, over in the National League, in the East, it's the New York Metropolitans, a half a game up on Philadelphia. Again, doesn't seem like anybody wants to run away and win this division. And so you've got basically the Mets at 15 over and the Phillies at 14 over. And then there's a drop-off. Believe it or not, the Miami Marlins are in 3rd place. That's right. and they're 10 games back in the division. Who knows? The Marlins actually could do something. Somehow the Atlanta Braves are behind them, and it's Washington with all that talent in last place, 20 games under 500. Now, looking at the National League, as far as the best team in the National League, as far as the record goes, it is the Milwaukee Brewers. That's right, folks, the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, I let that play out because the Brewers are one of those teams that you look at them on paper and say, wow, these guys are pretty good. But when you watch them on the field, you're like, wow, these guys are really good. And they have pieces. They have the pieces. They have the right attitude. They get the hits when they count. They play small ball. They steal bases. They throw leather. This team is good enough to win the World Series. That's right, I said it. They're good enough to represent the National League and likely beat the American League team. They're just one of those squads that 1 to 9, top to bottom, arguably, I'm going to put them in there in the top 3 in baseball. They're that good. That's right, they are that good. And the Cubs sit 1 game behind them. And the Cubs are a really good squad, but I believe that they're going to be hunting for starting pitching at the trade deadline. Now, that would make the most sense to me. They score a lot of runs. They score the most runs in the National League, I'll tell you that much. And they're actually above 500 on the roll. But guess what? They're 4 games over 500 on the road. Well, so are the Brewers. They're 4 games over 500 on the road. Now, both teams have 34 wins against teams better than 500 baseball. However, it's Milwaukee that's actually lost 5 games less than the Cubs. Now, the Cubs, they got a weekend series coming up with the red-hot White Sox. And that's going to be at Rate Field on the south side of Chicago. And that's not going to be a cakewalk because whenever these two teams play, it's always a seesaw back-and-forth game. Never mind the chaos in the seats. But it will be one hell of a series. When I watch these games, because I certainly watch them, and I used to root for both teams as a kid. Now I only root for the Southsiders. Long story behind it. But I have to say that throw the records out the window because when they play, anything can happen. And so when you look at what the Brewers had, they're hosting Miami over the weekend, which, well, Miami's playing really good ball lately, but not great ball. The White Sox are playing really good ball right now. And let's face it, the White Sox now are hosting the Cubs. And so this is city bragging rights, and the Cubs took it to them early in the season. White Sox are gelling right now. The Cubs could lose 2 out of 3 in this one. If Milwaukee sweeps Miami, suddenly they're up 4 to 5 games. That's the bigger issue here. And so when you look back, you say, all right, well, 84 games. I said they're going to be 84 and 78. Well, right now they're 3 games over 500 at 53 and 50. And the Reds are headed exactly for the number that I suggested and predicted. But the Reds are not out of it. They're 3 games over 500. Are they buyers or sellers or anything at the deadline? I don't know. But see, now you ask the same question. They have Tampa Bay. They have Tampa Bay at home over the weekend. And Tampa has really, really been scuffling about. And now the same argument goes with the Cardinals, who are only a half a game behind St. Louis. So the Cardinals are one of these teams that, well, let's face it, they play pretty good at home. They're 10 over at home, and they're abysmal on the road. And so now when you look at the Reds are pretty good at home, and they're average on the road. Lucky for them, they're playing at home, and the same thing goes to the Cardinals. So both of these two teams could win 2 out of 3 and basically stay in the same position. Meanwhile, Milwaukee has a real shot to do some damage against Miami and gain on the Cubs. And the Pirates, well, Pirates have seen better days, and they're going to be sellers, but hopefully for the Pirates' sake, they don't sell O'Neill Cruz, which I almost think they will. I think the Yankees may get him. And then the question is, what about Mitch Keller? So do you sell your pieces off now and you've been trying to build and perpetually continue to try to build is the next question. So that brings us over to the National League West, where the Dodgers, again, boy, they have really been scuffling. Now they're hitting the road over the weekend, and they're playing a pretty good Boston team. And so Boston now is, well, they're hosting the Dodgers who, let's face it, they have not been setting the world afire. And the Dodgers on the road are just above 500 and you look at the Boston Red Sox, you say, well, geez, these guys are pretty good. They're 12 over at home. And so they've won 6 out of their last 10, which doesn't mean a lot. And the Dodgers have lost 6 out of their last 10, which doesn't mean a lot. But we think about the Dodgers have really been scuffling. They will certainly be buyers. And how about the San Diego Padres? They still sit 5 back. They've lost their last few games, but somehow they're still in contention. They're 7 games over 500. It's because they had a really good May. I think that's really what it is. But they have traveled. They're traveling over to St. Louis, who St. Louis is pretty good at home. And the Padres are 6 under when it comes to playing on the road. And that's a problem because also the Padres against 500 teams or better, they're 23-33. So that doesn't really look good for the Padres. And now there are questions around the Padres we're going to get into in the next segment. And the Giants only sit 1 game behind the Padres. And they are hosting the New York Mets. And the Diamondbacks, it's just a real head scratcher there. I had them win the World Series. They're 3 under, but they're only 10 back. I say only, but let's face it. The Diamondbacks are already making deals right now, and they are at Pittsburgh over the weekend. Well, and the Rockies may set a record for the most losses in the modern day, if you know what I mean. All right, folks, we're going to be back in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on all streaming platforms. And also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners that have been with us for many, many years. Check it out, folks. The Sports Circus partner page. Our favorite is Al's number one Italian beef. Who is your favorite on thesportscircus.com? And of course, I put the applause on there because, hey, they all deserve a round of applause. But again, Al's number one Italian beef is ours. And if you haven't experienced that food, check it out. alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Or if you're in Chicago, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy, have them a visit and tell them the circus sent you. All right, folks. Nice round of applause for them. And by the way, if you like Las Vegas or Orlando or Branson, Missouri, how about this? How about Vacation Buddies offering to give you a couple of nights in any one of those locations, right here in Vegas, Orlando, or in Branson, Missouri, if you can answer a simple trivia question, and here it is. Which of these NBA superstars won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with the station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in either Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that trivia question, give them a call, 888-576-5777. All right, talking trade deadline and some targets and maybe some deals and whatnot. So according to Sports Illustrated, like everybody else, everybody has an opinion on it. And they're saying, well, with trade deadline just a week away, it's time for an update to our big board of trade candidates. Of course, this is right hot off it's not off the press, but it's hot off of the internet, I suppose. Nonetheless, Sports Illustrated says we're a week away from the July 31st trade deadline, and there are still plenty of teams yet to emerge as buyers or sellers. When we released our initial trade candidate rankings and prediction a month ago, there were only 6 teams more than 7 games out. Now there are 7. So even so, since there seems to be a little bit more action out there, a little bit more internally admitted and committed teams that are trying to get to the World Series, maybe adding a key player here or there, we'll see what happens. And so what they say is the first target is going to be Joe Ryan from the Minnesota Twins. I'll tell you, Joe Ryan is a really, really good one. Folks, if you don't know who Joe Ryan is, you better check him out. So far this year, he's 10-4, a marvelous 2.63 ERA and a 3.13 FIP, a 0.90 whip, walks and hits per innings pitched, 132 strikeouts, 23 walks, a 2.9 F-WAR, and 116 and a third. I mean, look, this guy is a great fit for, I would argue, every team in baseball, even the Minnesota Twins. I don't think he's going to get traded, but they say the bet fits are the Cubs, the Mets, the Dodgers, the usual suspects, I suppose, the Blue Jays, and the Astros. And the Astros, boy, that's a confusing team, but man, they just seem to keep doing it over and over, don't they? Anyway, Ryan has put everything together this season, flashing masterful control with a 5-pitch mix. Remember I talked about that in the first segment, instead of these flame-throwing relievers. Now, this guy, he has 5 pitches and really keeps the hitters off balance. This guy is a legitimate ace, and he's only 29. So he's got a couple of more years on his current contract, which makes it very, very friendly to the oncoming team or the team that's looking to make a deal. And let's face it, if somebody wants to make a deal with the Minnesota Twins, they are going to pay dearly. Man, it's going to cost a lot of lettuce to get this guy in their team. Draft picks, money, it's going to be a big fat mess. I just don't think he's going to get traded. Now, here's a guy that I would take a chance on if I'm looking for an outfielder. The Kansas City Royals need somebody else out in the outfield, and I would also argue maybe the Seattle Mariners do. And so that would be Jarren Duran. So he is with the Red Sox. He's their left fielder. And look, they've got other guys that can play that position as well. He's slashing .257, .323, .433, 9 homers, 10 triples. That's right, 10 triples, 25 doubles, 54 runs, 51 runs batted in. The guy can basically do it all, and he does steal some bases too. And Sports Illustrated says the best fits are the Padres, Braves, Royals, Dodgers, Phillies, and Guard. Well, let's face it. Who's going to be buyers in this? Maybe the Padres, certainly not the Braves. The Royals, I believe. Dodgers, yes. Phillies, yes. Guard, no. And so really, it's going to come down to the Padres, Royals, Dodgers, or Phillies. Who's going to pay the most? Who has the most to give? And you think about those minor league systems, and I would argue it's the Royals with the best talent pool in the minors to be able to give the Boston Red Sox. Now, that makes sense because they're also not playing in the same division. And look, Duran ranked 4th in the American League in WAR last season, directly above Juan Soto. That's right, above Juan Soto and Jose Ramirez from Cleveland. 2 really good players, while leading the bigs in doubles and triples. He's 28, fallen off a little bit this season from where he was last season, but who gives a damn? This guy is leading the world in triples and doubles. And you can't beat that right there because that extra base really means a lot when it comes to scoring. And so you ask, well, what is it going to take to get this guy? What is it going to take to shake him loose? Well, remember, the Red Sox already dealt off Rafi Devers, and the Red Sox are still competing. So the bigger question is, do they actually deal him or do they not? I think they actually keep him. Because if they deal him off, like the same thing with Rafaela, if they deal him off, it's going to be catastrophic for the team as far as the chemistry, and you can't do that. I don't think he's going anywhere. How about Eugenio Suarez? Gino Suarez, boy, talk about a revival in a career. This guy has 36 homers, 18 doubles, 64 runs, 86 RBIs, a 3.4 F-WAR in 99 games, slashing .257, .328, .605. Where the hell was this Eugenio Suarez when he was with the Cincinnati Reds? I don't know. This guy is a very streaky hitter, though. This is the problem, in my opinion. When he's on, man, he is on. But I'll tell you what, when he's cold, it's iceberg central. He's 33 on top of it. So you say, well, yeah, he's hit 36 homers this year, but what if he goes to an American League team? Okay, so he's playing with the D-backs right now. The question is, what if he goes back to the American League? What happens there? That's the bigger question. They've already seen him. Now in the National League, well, they got a break from him for a while. And so SI says, well, maybe the Yankees, Cubs, Tigers, Mariners, Brewers, Royals, Twins are all trade partners. You notice nobody in the National League West was in that list. And so, I don't know. A lot of people are saying he's going to go to the Yankees. But then again, I'm not so sure. Do the Yankees need a third baseman? I don't know. The Tigers need a little pick-me-up. But is it the right fit for the Tigers? I'm going to argue no. I'm going to argue for the Seattle Mariners because the Seattle Mariners made a deal for Josh Naylor today. Now you've got the number 1 home run hitter in the league in the big dumper. Cal Raleigh's over there. Now you've got an incredible clutch hitter in Josh Naylor. And so it would only stand to reason that Gino Suarez joins his former teammate, Josh Naylor, over in Seattle. I say that's the landing spot. All the others are saying the Yankees. No, I say it's going to be Seattle because Seattle needs hitting. And yeah, they're going to pay a little bit, but remember, he's 33, so they're not going to pay that much for him. Now, here's another guy from a pitching standpoint for the Twins. Are they going to unload Johan Duran? And he is a really, really good reliever. I don't know. But, I mean, this year, so far, it's 5-4, 1.62 ERA, a 2.12 FIP, and a 1.13 WHIP. 15 saves, 50 strikeouts, 16. So his walks to strikeouts is certainly better than 2-1. F-WAR 1.4, which is not very impressive. And so, predictions. Cubs, Phillies, Tigers, Dodgers, Rangers, Rays. Same suspects over and over and over. And do the Cubs need a closer? Probably. Could they use one from the American League? Probably. The Phillies perpetually need a closer. They just don't have anybody to put the fire out whatsoever. And part of it is the pitching coach, in my opinion, because their pitching coach is not conditioning their pitchers to face adversity. Now, they yank them out too quick, and they don't allow the pitchers to grow during the game. So will the Phillies just keep spending and spending and spending, closer after closer? It almost seems like closers go to die in Philadelphia. The better fit for this guy would probably be right in the division with the Tigers. The Dodgers are doing closer by committee for the most part. And the Rangers, I don't know. The Rays typically are not buyers at the deadline. So I'm thinking it's the Cubs or the Tigers. I don't think the Dodgers are willing to part with what they've got to get Duran because he's not setting the world afire. I just don't see it. And of course, SI says, he's going to get traded to the Cubs, which is a real possibility. I think the Tigers are a better fit. When we come back, we're going to talk about a few other players here in Major League Baseball that may be available for the trade deadline. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
everybody. This is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, in the last segment, I mentioned something about a free trip, possibly, a couple of nights, that is, to Las Vegas or in Branson, Missouri, or in Orlando, Florida. If you knew the answer to a trivia question, real simple one, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that in case you're just tuning in right now. Which NBA superstar out of these won 6 NBA titles in their career? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Shaquille O'Neal, C, Kobe Bryant, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer to the question, contact Vacation Buddies. 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies does not have affiliation with the station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that simple trivia question, give them a call right now, 888-576-5777, and claim your 2-night stay in one of those wonderful locations. All right, back to Trade Deadline Central, or better yet, who's on the block, who isn't. Welcome back to everybody at TV, radio, and streaming. You know who you are. So we left off talking about some of these moves that could be made and some that may not be made. And I had said that Johan Duran, was going to be dealt. I think he's going to go to the Tigers, possibly the Dodgers. That makes a little bit of sense there because the Dodgers have closer by committee. Eugenio Suarez likely going to join the Seattle Mariners along with his old teammate from from yesterday, from today or yesterday, which is Josh Naylor, one of the better clutch hitters in baseball. I think he's going to go to Seattle. I do believe that Jarren Duran from Boston will not get dealt, and Joe Ryan's going to be a really hefty price. I mean, the Cubs may pay the price. I don't think the Dodgers will pay the price. The Mets certainly are in a dogfight. The problem is the Mets need closers. The Astros, they don't need anything. They're going to win their division. And the Blue Jays, well, I don't know. They got to stay ahead of the Yankees, so who the hell knows? Will they spend the money for Joe Ryan? I don't know. I really think it's going to be either the Cubs or maybe the Dodgers. Yet the Dodgers need closers. All right, so that brings us to Dylan Cease. Boy, what a difference a year makes. This year, Dylan Cease is an abysmal 3-9 with a 4.64 ERA, a 3.49 FIP, a 1.30 WHIP, 139 strikeouts, 39 walks, not bad, 2.2 FWAR, and 108 2/3. And so this guy is one of the more dominant pitchers in baseball. He's just having an off year like Sandy Alcantara. But when you look at Dylan Cease, you say, all right, he's really a two-pitch pitcher. And maybe the league has caught on to him. Maybe he needs to go back to the American League. He did really well over with the White Sox, but he was just on a team that wasn't really headed anywhere, so the White Sox dealt him off to the San Diego Padres. And he pitched really well last year, even threw a no-hitter. So the question is, does Dylan Cease stick around? Is the contract too big is the question. I mean, most teams are currently in playoff position. As far as the teams that are in playoff position, really wouldn't consider trading a player like Dylan Cease, who really has top 4 Cy Young finishes. I mean, he's got 2 of those. This guy is good, and that's in the last few seasons. But most teams aren't run by their general manager, so you never know what's going to happen. Preller has made some crazy deals, and San Diego is reportedly listening to offers for Dylan to potentially augment other parts of their roster. I don't really see how that benefits them when they already have a failing Yu Darvish. That would be the guy to get rid of. Nonetheless, Cease is averaging double-digit strikeouts per 9 innings, which is exactly what he does. And let's face it, that's for the 5th year in a row. American League, National League, doesn't matter. This guy is good. And of course, Everybody's saying, well, maybe he's a fit for the Cubs, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Rays, or Mets. I would argue maybe for the Cubs. The Red Sox will not be buying. I think they're going to stand pat. The Blue Jays may buy. The problem is I don't know if they want to spend that kind of money. The Rays, they just don't buy. They've got pieces, and they gel together with their chemistry. The Mets do buy. So I think it's going to be, if he does get moved, it's going to be either the Cubs or the Mets. How about Felix Bautista? Talk about him, and he is one of those relievers that, again, he's really dominant. And this year, he's 1-1 with a 2.6 ERA and a 1.13 whip. So his walks and hits per innings pitch is 1.13. 16 saves, 50 strikeouts, 23 walks. Had a problem with walks, and that is in 34 2/3. 23 walks in 34 innings. That's quite a few. And so Bautista's stuff hasn't really quite returned since he's had the Tommy John surgery, which is the ulnar nerve, in case you don't know. And of course, he hasn't really hit that level of dominance, which it seems like certain teams are willing to take those kinds of risks. And the first team that comes to mind to me is the Phillies. Because again, the Phillies, albeit they've had so many closers and that they can't seem to figure it out, maybe the Phillies ought to work on middle relief rather than closers. That might not be a bad idea. These are the starters that aren't good enough to be starters in a four-man rotation, and maybe they move them down to the fifth spot or they move them into the bullpen. So it would really mean that Bautista doesn't have a lot of attractiveness there, but the Phillies just keep blowing money and picks and whatnot on closers, and the closers, again, go to die there. Where's a better fit for him? That's the next question. And, of course, the usual suspects, Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies. But then the Tigers, D-backs, and Rangers creep up. Now, why would the D-backs be in this discussion if they just moved Josh Naylor? I don't know. I don't really see that happening because that is their key clutch hitter. And he's a really good first baseman, too. It doesn't make sense that they would be buying anything. The Rangers, maybe. I'm not so sure about that. I think if he goes anywhere, it's going to be it's going to be either the Cubs or the Phillies, possibly Detroit. And boy, you want to talk about a team that's scuffling. Man, these guys are in big trouble. And here's a bigger one. Here's a bigger question. And I don't see the guard trading this guy whatsoever. Emmanuel Clase, probably the best closer in the game today. And this guy, even this year, he just gets it done. 5-2, 2.86 ERA, a 1.23 whip, 21 saves, 44 strikeouts, only 10 walks in 44 innings, averaging a strikeout per inning, which is good. And he's only given up, well, let's face it, 25% walks. That's not bad at all. And of course, the usual suspects, Tigers, Cubs, Yankees, Phillies, Dodgers. But where is he the best fit? I don't necessarily believe that Cleveland is going to trade their closer in the division when actually Cleveland's not a bad ball team. They're not waving the give up flag, the white flag. It's not up there. So I think the Tigers are out. Cubs, real possibility. Yankees, I don't know. I think he's actually a better fit for the Dodgers because the Dodgers lost Michael Kopech, who was their fireballer, which they got from the White Sox too. I think Clase, if he goes anywhere, he's going to go to the Dodgers, right? Big name, big team, big stage, big everything. That makes a little bit of sense. And of course, SI says he's not going to get traded. I really don't think he's going to get traded either. But if he does go anywhere, I believe the Dodgers are the destination for him. How about Seth Lugo? Seth Lugo, a very interesting situation. He's 6-5 with the Royals, and the Royals are terribly underachieving with an under 3 ERA, which is pretty darn good. 93 strikeouts, 31 walks in 107 innings. So this guy, he is, I wouldn't say pitching to contact, but I would say that Seth Lugo is solid. This guy gets outs, and that's really what you want. Someone to eat innings and get outs. And like I said, he really doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but this guy hasn't posted an ERA above 3.6 for 5 years and quietly finished second in the Cy Young voting last year and a Gold Glove. I don't care if he's 35 years of age. This guy is good. Where is he a good fit? He's a quiet guy. He's a good fit if the Padres are buyers. He's a really good fit for the Padres. They say the Angels are going to be selling. The Cardinals are going to be selling. Dodgers are looking at everything. Cubs are looking at everything. Blue Jays, maybe. The Blue Jays will probably be able to afford this guy. I would say in the National League, it's going to be the Padres or the Blue Jays. In the American, if anybody gets him, it's going to be the Padres. That makes the most sense. Mitch Keller, another real interesting piece. Hopefully the Pirates don't deal him off. I don't care if his record's 3-10 with a 3.48 ERA and all that other nonsense. This guy is good, and he eats innings, and he knows how to get the tough outs. And so they've got a 1-2 punch in Pittsburgh with Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller. And I would hate to see one of those guys leave because it would really flush the Pirates' work right down the toilet. And, of course, the usual suspects, not necessarily. You have Cubs, Mets, Blue Jays, and the odds-on favorite are the New York Mets for picking him up. I don't necessarily believe that. I think, if anything, he might get traded in the division because the Pirates are nowhere near competing for the division title. And what that means is they could trade within the division, get back some key pieces from the Cubs, and then use those against the Cubs down the road. So it's going to look like a bad deal to start with, but actually it would be a good deal for the Pirates. That's what you got to look at, folks, when you look at these trades. And yeah, the Blue Jays could afford him, but I really believe the best fit there is with the team on the north side. That makes a lot more sense. And we already talked about Josh Naylor in his deal. And it's funny because the powers that be has said, well, best fits Mariners, Rangers, Red Sox, Reds, Twins, and Royals. And out of those teams, who was really going to be buying in the first place? Maybe the Royals and the Mariners. I don't think the Rangers are going to be buying because they've got enough. They've got good pitching. Their position players are set. Did they need a first baseman like Josh Naylor? Not necessarily. If Marcus Semien starts hitting the ball again, maybe that would be just as good as a trade. But it is the Texas Rangers that are flailing about, but they're still in contention. And listen, Naylor's one of those guys, man. A guy can hit, and he's a gamer. He is good. So he's really going to help out Seattle, and Seattle was, of course, one of the best fits. But out of those other teams, maybe the Royals were the only team that were real legitimate buyers anyway, in my opinion. A lot of people think the Royals are going to be sellers. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but Naylor is a really good fit in Seattle, a team that's absolutely starving for hitting. And so that's why I think Eugenio Suarez is going to end up in Seattle as well. You remember last year at the deadline, Seattle made a couple of moves, and they picked up Randy Arozarena and J.P. Crawford, if I'm not mistaken, and or Jorge Polanco. And none of those guys did anything last year. Arozarena's starting to hit a little bit this year. Polanco's hitting about 255, 260 right now. So who knows? I think that Seattle is going to make a real good push, and they're going to end up as a wild card team. I don't think that they end up in first place in the American League West. They do have the best pitching, but their hitting is very suspect. Houston just seems to hit the ball and hit the ball. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. We'll see you in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
You'll get your chance, smart guy. Speak when you're told to speak and not before. I gotta barbecue your...
Don't you give me none of your facts, up.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.